At 13, most teenagers are enjoying the joys of growing into adolescence. For Justin Tackett, his entry into teenage years was filled with x-rays, surgery, chemotherapy, and its side effects. Justin has a rare form of soft tissue cancer called rhabdomyosarcoma.
It's a very aggressive cancer. And what was very shocking is everybody's, what we read and what we were told, as long as it hadn't spread, his chances were good. And the first thing we found out at Cook's was that it had spread to his bone marrow.
Oftentimes with tumors, cancer, they spread not just by growing, but by entering your bloodstream or your lymphatic system and jumping to different places in your body. And indeed his had metastasized or moved from his nose to bone and bone marrow, mostly in the upper part of his body.
We were, given options. The options were to not treat him and he'd be dead in a matter of months, to go with standard therapy, which was 20% standard therapy, or this trial drugs and stuff. Which
they had no
didn't
numbers
know.
on for
They
kids.
had no numbers. 20 was the best that we had.
So it was a quick choice for us.
Yeah, there was no choice.
The first one was no option, and 1 in 5 is not good enough for my child, so we chose to go with the clinical trial.
It's pretty devastating finding out, the chances.
And he said, be prepared, because, maybe not today, but later, during his treatment, he's going to ask you, am I going to die?
When you get a patient who has a serious illness like cancer, initially it's such a horrifying, scary, heart-wrenching thing. But in dealing with him and his family through this illness, he gives everybody such hope.
I had some bad times and I had some good times. I kind of got sick and I had to have to be in the hospital for a week or so.
I felt so bad for him that I couldn't just make it go away. And I, many times sat there with a bucket. He would just throw up everything. He went like 5 days one time without eating, and he got so dehydrated he had to be put, in the hospital in isolation, and there was nothing I could do.
There were times that he would come in that his nose would just be pouring. He had the worst nosebleeds. And that was really scary, especially maybe when we'd get his labs back and see how much blood he had lost.
Justin went through 6 weeks of radiation. We had to go to Cook's in Fort Worth for that, and they radiated his nose and also a vertebrae. And through all of that, he had to be strapped down because he couldn't move. They made an actual mask and would kind of bolt him in so he couldn't move in any way.
When in active treatment, Justin was too weak to attend school and spent most of his time at home at Cook Children's Medical Center in Fort Worth or at Shannon Medical Center Pediatrics Unit. Through all that time, Justin was more concerned about the other kids than he was about himself.
He seems to, love kids. He's always concerned about them.
I really wanted to help those kids out, and I helped out in other ways, like work at the Children's Fair and the Relay for Life. I ran a couple laps for them, a lot of laps. I was there for 6 hours.
He is such a wonderful kid. He is so nice and up and happy. I know there are times when he must be sad and he must be depressed and he must be mad that this has happened to him and to his family. But he doesn't show it to other people, and he has dealt with it. He and his family have dealt with it in the absolute best way possible. They are role models for any other family who would need to go through this.
He's just never complaining about anything, always thanking us for everything that we do. His parents are awesome, very supportive as well.
I could just tell they loved him, the way they took care of him, and he had to get blood and so many times too. That's another thing, how important it is for people to give blood. I want to say that. It saved his life many times.
Justin is doing great, complete with a new crop of blonde hair thanks to the effects of clinical trial chemotherapy that he's received.
I want to be a freshman at Glenn next year and play football.
He spent a whole year in the hospital. He spent a whole year. He didn't go to school. At that time, there was really nothing for him to do, and now, through the Children's Miracle Network, there's games for him to play and DVDs to watch, because sitting in a bed for 5 hours a day, it's very hard. And, they need to have the right equipment, and through the Children's Miracle Network, you know, we can make that happen for these kids.